So imagine waking up tomorrow morning, right? You grab your phone, casually open up your banking app, fully expecting to see your usual balance, maybe a few thousand rupees. But instead, you're staring at a number that absolutely defies belief. Today, in this explainer, we're diving headfirst into the ultimate what-if scenario. What if literally everyone woke up filthy rich?
Okay, let's dive into this. You're looking at a screen telling you that you have 8.5 trillion rupees. That's an 8 followed by a whole lot of zeros. And here's the kicker. It's not some lucky glitch. Suddenly, every single person on Earth is holding that exact same staggering amount of wealth. At first glance, it sounds like an absolute dream come true, right? But we've kind of got to ask ourselves, what if this actually happened?
Part 1. The first day as a billionaire. Honestly, the initial global euphoria would be completely off the charts. We'd be looking at the biggest shopping spree in human history. Luxury cars, sprawling real estate, they'd sell out in absolute minutes. People would be chartering private jets, snapping up the most expensive phones out there, and just entirely clearing out racks of designer clothes.
But, as you might guess, that expectation instantly collides with reality. Once the celebratory dust settles, a huge, glaring problem pops up. Think about it. If everyone is suddenly incredibly rich, who is actually going to do the work?
Seriously, let's play this out. If you've got trillions sitting in the bank, are you showing up for your morning shift? Who would drive the buses? If everyone can suddenly afford a whole fleet of luxury cars, well, nobody is taking the bus. But more importantly, absolutely no one is going to be motivated to sit behind the wheel of that bus, navigating brutal traffic all day long just for a standard wage.
And this chain reaction just keeps going. Who would collect the garbage? Sanitation is literally the backbone of modern society. But if every sanitation worker is suddenly a multi-billionaire, yeah, those trucks are staying parked in the lot. The trash from all those massive global celebration parties we just talked about, it's going to start piling up on the streets instantly.
And it gets way more serious than just overflowing trash cans or lack of public transit. Who's going to work in our hospitals, our farms, or our factories? These are the essential pillars of our survival. The harsh reality here is that society would just grind to a screeching halt simply because money alone doesn't instantly create workers. At the end of the day, it's really just digits on a screen. Which brings us to part 2. Prices explode. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how businesses react. They aren't foolish, right? They know full well that everyone walking through their doors now has billions to spend. So what exactly do they do?
They raise their prices. And we're not just talking about a tiny markup on luxury goods. We are talking about the basic necessities of everyday survival. A bottle of water, a loaf of bread, a simple meal. Because everyone has practically unlimited money trying to buy a very limited supply of goods, the cost of basic items would absolutely skyrocket.
This brings us right to a fundamental economic principle: inflation. Basically, inflation happens when prices rise and your money buys less. It's a pretty simple equation when you get down to it. When you flood the economic system with cash, but you don't actually increase the amount of physical stuff available to buy, the money itself just loses its power.
Which transitions us perfectly into part 3, the true value of money. You know, we so often fall into the trap of thinking paper money has intrinsic value, but that's a total illusion. We really need to look at the mechanics behind why any currency actually holds any value in the first place.
The reality of the situation is just this. Money only has value because it's limited, and because people actually produce goods and services. Think about it. If we aren't building more houses, manufacturing more cars, developing more medicine, or growing more food, throwing those trillions of rupees at the system doesn't create any real value at all. There would still be the exact same amount of stuff to buy.
So the crucial point is how this exact domino effect plays out. Step 1. Everyone becomes extremely wealthy overnight. Step 2, because everyone's suddenly rich, people stop working, meaning no new goods are created. Step 3, we now have way too much money chasing the exact same pool of goods. And finally, step 4, prices get pushed astronomically higher. This right here is exactly how universal wealth inevitably triggers hyperinflation.
Let's move on to part 4. Could billionaires stay rich? There is such a profound irony here, isn't there? The entire status of being a billionaire completely evaporates if everyone else shares that exact same title. It simply wouldn't equal power or exclusivity anymore.
And practically speaking, the math just doesn't work in their favor anymore either. Billions simply no longer have the same buying power. A billionaire in our little thought experiment might actually struggle to afford a basic lifestyle, because the prices of literally everything have increased proportionately with that massive influx of new money.
The number in the bank account went way up, sure, but their actual wealth? It didn't budge.
Which leads us to the central question of this entire explainer. It's something people ask all the time when looking at global inequality. Would making everyone a billionaire, or, simply handing out vast unlimited sums of money, actually solve poverty? Well, based on the economic principles we've just unpacked together, the definitive answer is probably not.
Because as we've seen, curing poverty isn't just about printing more money. What actually matters are the fundamental building blocks of a society. We're talking about creating more goods so there's abundance, improving education so people can innovate and solve complex problems, increasing productivity, and maintaining a stable economy where people can predictably plan for their futures. These real-world factors matter so much more than simply handing everyone a pile of cash.
I want to leave you with this philosophical takeaway that really summarizes everything we've looked at today. Money is valuable not because of the number printed on it, but because of what it can actually buy. It's your purchasing power that dictates your true wealth. A trillion rupee note is ultimately just a useless piece of paper if it can barely buy you a loaf of bread.
It completely shifts how you view that balance on your banking app, doesn't it? So I have a lingering, provocative question for you to chew on. Would you still want to become a billionaire if you knew that everyone else in the world did too? Just think about the chaos, the inflation, and the harsh reality of purchasing power we just explored. Comment your answer below. I genuinely love to read your thoughts on this. And hey, if you found this explainer helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you next time.